Hey guys, here is part 2 of my ongoing 3-part video series where my last video and this video will be about my personal final thoughts on all of the Canadian Football League's new uniforms as of last year. The 2016 CFL season, which was the first season with Adidas making the Canadian Football League's uniforms instead of Reebok. And of course, in my last video, I talked about the CFL's Eastern Conference, and in this video I will be sharing my final thoughts on all of the Western Conference teams in the CFL. And in my next video, for anybody interested, I will talk about some small changes that have been made for the 2017 CFL season, and truth is they are pretty minor so far. But I'll talk about that in my next video, of course. So, I've got this picture here with the Red Blacks and the Stampeders, and I will talk a little bit more about the Stampeders uniform here shortly. So, anyways, first off, I want to show you guys their uniform from from 2015, not last season when Reebok was still making their uniforms. So, compared to before, what the Stampeders have done is they've actually taken the number and letter font from their signature jersey from 2015, and I know for a fact that they've made their numbers on their third jersey part of their new home and away jerseys. And as you can tell, their home jersey for the most part is basically the exact same. Now, before, their away jersey did not have as much black on the ends of the arms, which they do now. And personally, I'm glad that the Stampeders slightly updated their red jersey a little bit, but for me, I feel that they definitely improved their white jersey quite a bit. And truth is, I'm usually a guy who's pro block font, but as I say that though, I must say I don't think the Stampeders' new old Western style number font is all that bad. And one thing I also really like is that they kept their third jersey. I think this time around the Stampeders did a really good job keeping their black third jersey nice and simple, like it used to be before. Because remember, their last black alternate had the piping along the chest and it had red on top, and I'm glad they got rid of that this time around. So, under Adidas, the Stampeders, the only thing they changed on this uniform was, of course, the CFL logo. Which, truth is, I don't like it quite as much as I like the old one. It's just not the same, in my personal opinion. So, I'm going to show you guys a few shots of the Stampeders' new uniforms. Like, for example, this one here. I like that their away jersey has a little bit more black on the ends of the arms. But once again, though, something I've noted in my last video as well is these stupid word marks that Adidas thinks is a good idea. Like, seriously? Get rid of the word marks. And another thing I don't like is with the pants. I mean, they've got the same style. It's the same template. I mean, they got the little block of white here, and the Red Blacks have the block red there. And theirs says hashtag our nation. Well, you know what, guys? Hashtag are you kidding me? It is hashtag ugly as sin. So I think the not the Senators, sorry, I failed. Thinking about hockey for just a second there. But with the Red Blacks, they should hashtag get rid of it. And I'm sorry to be using hashtags, but I'm being a little bit, I'm trying to make a point. It's just as stupid. And, you know, I don't know who thought having a hashtag on the pants was a good idea, but, you know, at least I'll give the Stampeders one thing. They have a word mark on the pants. It's better than a hashtag. But I think they should get rid of it. They should go with a more traditional striping pattern, in my opinion. But with their uniforms now, though, one thing that still bothers me is the fact that the Stampeders, for whatever stupid reason, still continue to wear a black helmet with their away uniform. It's like, guys, Why the hell can't you just wear your red helmet with your away jersey? It would look so much better. And truth is, I think they should do it with their alternate uniform as well. I think it would look quite nice, to be honest. But truth is, I know this is going to sound a little bit crazy coming from me, but I actually think the Stampeders' special red gradient helmet on their third jersey actually doesn't look all that bad once in a while. I thought it was actually pretty clever, but if I had my way, though, I'd have the red helmet on all three. I think it looked pretty nice, especially on their... They should at least have it on their away jersey. But for me, though, with the Stampeders, I feel like they slightly upgraded a little bit with Adidas, but honestly, I think they should go back to being either go back to their 1990s uniforms or something from the 80s with a little bit more silver on it. I think that would look pretty damn good. But one thing about the Stampeders, though, that I don't like is that they took their shoulder numbers off their home and away uniforms. And I know they had the numbers on the ends of their arms here from their Reebok uniform, and I'm pretty sure they kept it with their Adidas transition, but when they went to Adidas last year, but I can't remember. So if anybody knows for sure, feel free to let me know. I would actually really appreciate it. But anyways, with the Stampeders, though, I am really not impressed that they decided to get rid of their shoulder numbers. Like, that's always been a part of the football uniform. And for me personally, I honestly find that the little bit of extra color from the numbers actually adds to the jersey itself. And I don't know how you guys feel, but that's something I miss with the Stampeders no longer having the shoulder numbers like they did here in this photo. And speaking of their the Stamps, one thing I like about their uniforms with Adidas now is that the logo on their arms, the Mustang, is actually sewn on. It is not screen printed, which I'm actually really impressed about. And I think all of the CFL teams should do that, personally. But anyway, I'm going to move on to the next team on my list, the BC Lions. Now, honestly, I found that these Reebok jerseys were very boring. It was basically a white shirt and an orange shirt, and that was it. But you know what? The jerseys might have been a little bit boring, and I was hoping they would add some striping to their uniforms, which pretty much they added quite a bit more to them than they had before. But look at the pants and look at the socks. Like, they were nice, they were simple, and they had a very nice striping pattern to them. And now those are gone for not this, but I think they should bring this alternate back at some point. I feel that it's way too good to have only lasted 2 seasons. Like, what were the Lions thinking? Goodness me. But anyways, they switched to these. And for me, I think it's really nice that they've added more to the uniform instead of it just being a plain shirt. And I like that their home jersey has more black on it than they had before. Far more. But my issue is this. And with the BC Lions, it isn't just the fact that they have their logo stamped on underneath their numbers. Like, who thought that was a good idea? Like, take their logo off the back of the jersey. I hate it when teams do that, or when they put their logo above up here where the Adidas logo is here. They should just leave it alone. But with the BC Lions, that's one thing that bugs me. But the thing with their home uniform now is that, in my opinion, it is just way too damn dark. Like, look at it. There's absolutely no white anywhere, except for the advertisement patches, of course. Which, whatever. I don't even consider them part of the uniform, even though I know they are, but I never think about the ads when they get stitched onto the uniform. They're just kind of there. But anyways, with the BC Lions, like, once again, here's this templated look from Adidas where there's a little block of orange. Just like the Stamps have a little block of white on their red pants and a little block of red on their black pants, as you can see right here. And it's like, couldn't you guys have come up with a more simple striping pattern? Like, but not only that, though, my main issue is, look at how dark this is. I think they tried way too hard to be as dark as the gunmetal jerseys, and I think it definitely backfired. I'm also not a fan of the slightly altered number font. I wish they would have just stuck with the plain block font that they've had for many, many years. But it's not that big of a deal. But see, my point is, why did they not add any white trim around the numbers on the arms and the main front and back of the jersey? Like, why? Like, this jersey is so dark. It needs some white to help contrast it, and there's nothing there. And then not only that, I don't like what they've done with their logo on the helmets, where they've gone with this, let me see if I can find a better picture of it actually. Here, where they've gone with this extra striping pattern on it. And a lot of people I've heard say it looks a lot like the old Michigan Panthers of the 1980s, which, that's interesting. I've never seen their logo. I will have to take a look at it. But I definitely wish they would have just stuck their main logo on there like they did before. Like, their old helmets from here were definitely simple, but at least they looked good. They had their logo there and they didn't mess with it. And their black pants should at least, and their orange pants too, should have some type of striping like this. That would look way better than just going with a generic Adidas template. But another issue I have with their uniforms now is that they mismatch. So as you can see, their home jersey is strictly orange and black, no white. But look at their away uniform. It's orange and white with no black, except for the word mark here and the names on the back. Like why doesn't their away jersey have some black trim around the numbers? Like, are you kidding me? Who thought that was a good idea? Who thought it was a good idea to go strictly white and orange on the road and black and orange at home with no white on the home jersey and practically no black on the away jersey? I mean, at least the away jersey has black on their word mark and the back of the jersey. But I mean, it's just my issue with the Lions is that, like, they've got this uniform and then they've got this uniform. They're very, very different. There's nothing to tie them in together. Like, they're both the same design, but one's white and orange and the other's orange and black. Like, why don't they both have orange, white, and black? That makes no sense to me. But one thing I will say, though, is personally, I like their new away uniform. I don't think it's all that bad. And I definitely like it significantly more than I do their home uniform. Like, they're not terrible, but they're not great. Like, I would argue that their home jersey's okay, but I definitely don't love it. That's for sure. Like, I thought their old one was much, much better. But I do like the black. Like, I like the idea of having more black on the home jersey. Like, I think the black looks good, but there's too much of it, and there's no white to brighten it up. Like, see, this is their throwback uniform from the one year that they played at Empire Field. And see, the black number with the white around it. Like, that looks great. But this, it's just too dark. And with their away uniform, though, I mean, I like how there's a lot of orange on it. And the orange helmet's not a bad idea either, but I don't... And their logo in white is definitely interesting, but for a one-time thing, but I'm not sure what to think. Like, I think they would have been better with either just one helmet, a black, just using their black home helmet, or maybe just going with a white helmet. In this case, it wouldn't work because of their home jersey, obviously, but, you know, even their old black helmet with the paw on it from the 60s, I've always liked that helmet style. Like, if they would have added some black to this uniform and some white to their home uniform with the old black paw helmet logo on there and that old helmet again, I think that could look really, really good. But for myself, I think the BC Lions should actually maybe go more towards their old 60s retro look. If you ever look it up, it's actually really quite nice. I like that style, personally. But anyways, with the BC Lions, I feel that their new uniforms are far too collegiate looking, and they're mismatched. Like, the home uniform needs more white. It needs white on there for the number trim at least, and their away uniform needs more black. But it is a little bit of an exception because it does have the word mark and it does have the names on the back in black. But to me, that's not enough. And I think they should add a little bit of black trim around the numbers at the bare minimum. Now, I'm going to move on to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Now, for me personally, I missed this uniform. I loved the fact that Winnipeg was the only team in both the Canadian Football League and the National Football League to have a non-white away uniform. And although the numbers here were very, very small, with this design though, it wasn't something that I thought was that big of a deal, because that shoulder area was so small anyway because of the design of the uniform. So it worked. But anyways, here are their new uniforms that they wore in the 2016 season, and they've kept the same this season as well. And personally, I love that the royal blue is back. It's been far too long. And I love their home jersey. I love their home uniform. But I don't love their away uniform as much. And something I notice about their away uniform, for whatever reason, is it looks like the numbers are really low. And I think it's just the pictures and the way the players wear them on the field. But sometimes I don't know what it is with Adidas jerseys now, but some of the numbers look like they're too low or they're too high, or the nameplates are too high or too small or too big. And I find it isn't very consistent anymore, which I find is disappointing, to be honest. But sorry to be picky, but it's just something that catches my eye and it doesn't look as good. But you know, with their away uniform, I most certainly do not like it anywhere near as much as I love their new home uniform. Like, I think they nailed it out of the park on that one. But for their away uniform, I wish that they did not have the shoulders, the blue shoulders. If it was just white, I think that would have actually been better. But another thing I don't like about the Blue Bombers' new uniforms for both of them is that the numbers on the shoulders are just cheaply screen printed. And I think they're stitched on, but they're not like they used to be, where they were actually sewn on, like they were embroidered on, like they were with Reebok, which I get the argument for going with lighter weight uniforms, but you can at least come up with lighter weight uniforms with decent quality, at least in my opinion. And it looks like their logo on the arms, the W, is screen printed too, along with their striping, and I'm not a fan of that at all. And here's a look at their uniform on the field though. And to me, here's what happened with Adidas taking over for Reebok when it comes to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Basically, they had a great away jersey before, and now they don't have a great away jersey. They had a mediocre home jersey, now they have a fantastic one. So basically, their home jersey became awesome, and their away jersey became not so awesome. Which, you know, I will say this, I do love the royal blue, and I think the royal blue and metallic-y gold that they've gone with is a unique color scheme. And this has been this is a color scheme they have not had for over 25 years. And it's for about 20 years now, actually. And it's so nice to see the Blue Bombers wearing royal blue at home again. And, I mean, you look at the back of it, it's very, very nice. And before I get to these guys, the Eskimos, let me see if I can't find another photo. So also, before I go back to talking about Winnipeg's uniform, I also want to show you guys a better shot of Calgary's new home uniform. And one thing I don't like about it as well, and I forgot to mention this earlier, sorry about that, is that once again, it's templated. Same with the red blacks, and this has been a pet peeve of mine with the CFL since Adidas has taken over, is that basically most of the teams have gone with the same style of template. And I really don't like that. But I will say this, though, I definitely think the Stampeders' home jersey is actually a little bit better than their Reebok one. But please, next time they go through a uniform change, Calgary, please just put your shoulder numbers back on the jerseys. That would be perfect. And do away with the word mark, too. But anyway, where's my other photo of the Blue Bombers here? Just bear with me for one moment here, guys. I want to make sure I show you the photo I'm looking for. Oh yeah, here we go. So here's another shot of their away uniform. At least they've got the shoulder numbers. Winnipeg does. That's good. Same with BC. But theirs, I notice, are pretty screen printed and a bit too small in my opinion. And this is the same issue I had with the Ticats as well. And I wish they would just make them a regular size again. And I also don't care for the screen printing, but I understand why they do it to make it lighter weight. But doesn't mean I necessarily like it from a quality perspective. But sorry to sound a little bit picky there, but it's just, for me, I like the idea of having a good quality jersey that's good for players, but it's also good quality for a fan to spend good money on too. And when teams screen print stuff, that really turns me off in terms of uniforms. And it's a pet peeve I've had with the Reebok Edge jerseys in the NHL, like the premier ones, the replicas. All the shoulder logos are screen printed, except for a few special exceptions like Montreal and Chicago's most recent Winter Classic jerseys from 2016 and 2017 respectively. But yeah, but you guys get my point. But with Winnipeg, I wish they would just leave the royal blue blocks on the ends of the arms and take the shoulders and make them white. But anyway, it might be a matter of opinion. But I think for Winnipeg, though, I definitely want to see a gold jersey come back. But a gold jersey with royal blue accents on it does not look anywhere near as good as one with navy blue accents does, as it does in this photo here. But anyways, the next team on my list is the Edmonton Eskimos. Now this is the home jersey they had before Adidas took over. And this was their away jersey, which was a big mess. It had the side panels, it had these dark green shoulder yokes, and it was a bit of a mess. But these are their new home and away uniforms, and I like their new away jersey better than this one because they really cleaned it up, and I'm glad the shoulders and the side panels are just white. And their home jersey is nice and simple. But my pet peeve here is that they still somehow found a way to keep this jersey. This jersey that was clearly inspired by the 2007 Edmonton Oilers Reebok Edge jersey with the vertical piping. Like, this jersey, this uniform, in my opinion, is a train wreck, and they need to get rid of it. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about this shortly. But with their new away jersey, I think it's quite nice. I like that it's simple. But as I mentioned in my last video, which was a huge pet peeve of mine, once again, here is Adidas cutting off the pant stripes 3/4 of the way down the pants. Like, for Christ's sake, Adidas, why can't you not have the pant stripe just go all the way down the damn jersey? Jesus Christ. I hate that. And this cut-off striping has, in my opinion, wrecked Toronto's perfect uniforms that they had with Reebok. Like, I'm not even kidding. If they would just fix the pant stripes, their uniforms would pretty much be perfect. And of course the helmets too. And I'm talking about the Argos when I say that, not the Eskimos. But yeah, with Edmonton, if they just fix the pant stripe once, just like Toronto, their uniforms would be quite decent. And the jerseys are great. Like, they did a great job with their away jersey for cleaning it up. But I don't know why they can't just have the pant stripe go all the way down. I think that is so stupid. And I think it's a bloody shame if you ask me. Now here's another shot of it. Once again, the cutoff stripe. And here's the Ticats like I showed in my last video. And look at this picture again. They need to bring back the pair of stripes down the pants. Like, that looks so much better. And I think they should definitely go back and see what I mean. They should definitely have a regular sized shoulder numbers like they used to with Reebok. And speaking of shoulder numbers, I said that for a reason. The Eskimos no longer have shoulder numbers on their home and away jerseys, which I think is stupid. Like, they should have the shoulder numbers. And I feel like there's too much blank space there. And it looks good when they have the shoulder numbers. It adds something to the uniform. And also, Saskatchewan doesn't have shoulder numbers either. But with Edmonton's home uniform, though, as you can see here, it's still nice and clean. I don't like it as much as I liked Reebok's Eskimos home jersey, but I will say I do like that they still found a way to keep the jersey at least somewhat simple. And it's tough to see here, but for anybody wondering, I want to mention this pentagon insert on the collar for the CFL logo, because they've done it with the NHL now too. And once again, here's that cut off pant stripe. So the Eskimos uniforms are still decent, but I don't know why they don't just make the pant stripe go all the way down. If they would have just done that, these uniforms would have been perfectly fine for the time being, in my personal opinion. I mean, I wish that they would have stuck with I wish they would have stuck with their old green jersey, but this is definitely not terrible. And their away jersey is definitely better than this, that's for sure. But here's my biggest rant about the Eskimos now. You see this hideous Reebok signature uniform that has somehow managed to stick around in the Adidas era of CFL uniforms in 2016 and 17 now, as of this video. Why is it that this is their third jersey? Like, in my personal opinion, they should have kept this as a third jersey. Like, to me, this is the perfect Eskimos home jersey. This was awesome. Like, their new home jersey's not terrible, but it's not as good. It's just nowhere near as good in my opinion, and I love the old striping. It's got the old 1980s style of Eskimo striping, back to the days of Warren Moon. And I believe in the 1980s, the Eskimos, I think they had a bit of a Grey Cup dynasty, I believe, too. And still, though, I mean, this jersey was awesome. Like, their new home jersey's not terrible, but I just don't think it's anywhere near as good. I like that it's still simple and not too busy. I'll give them that, and I do like their new away jersey much better than this. But all they should have done for their new away jersey is just kept this area on the arms and gotten rid of the side panels and the green on the shoulders. That's it. That's what I would have done, and I would have fixed the collar a little bit too. But yeah, I mean, the Eskimos' new home and away jerseys are definitely not terrible, but I wish they would have just basically made their old away jersey, they would have taken it and made it match their old home jersey from Reebok. But anyways, in the meantime though, I think the Eskimos should just at least make the pant stripe go all the way down. It would make this look so much better. But you see what I mean about the striping? It still looks alright, but it's just not as good as what they had before, at least in my personal opinion. But now, so I've talked about Calgary, I've talked about BC, I've talked about Winnipeg, and now I've just talked about Edmonton. And the last team to talk about now is the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And in the past few years, I have noticed that the Roughriders uniforms have gone downhill, and not in a good way. No, what the hell am I saying? Sorry. The Roughriders uniforms have gone downhill completely. And these were the Reebok uniforms. But thankfully, and this monstrosity came out as a signature uniform, which is thankfully gone. I mean, this thing was hideous, ugly as sin. One of the worst alternates I've ever seen. I would argue this is the worst jersey in CFL history, or definitely one of the worst. And you may not agree with me on that, and that's okay, but I just do not like it whatsoever. But thankfully, when Adidas came along and brought in their new Rough Rider uniforms, they really cleaned them up. They got rid of the piping, and now the Rough Rider uniforms, for the vast most part, are now just simply green and white. And I think they made the right decision. So, the word mark on the away jersey is black. That's not a big deal. But one thing I do like is that they took their logo and they actually have slightly cleaned it up a little bit. And the lines here, it's tough to see, but they've actually really cleaned up their logo, and I think they did a great job, and they actually improved it quite a bit. But their new uniforms, they're not as bad. They're definitely better than the Reebok ones, in my opinion. But I still don't understand why the Rough Riders haven't gone full-time retro again. And personally, I think their retro logo is far, far better than their current one. Even though I like that they've actually cleaned it up quite a bit. But I love this old Rough Riders logo, and I love this old Rough Riders look. And I wish they would have just gone with this full-time, because I think this is great. Their home and away jerseys they've got now, not even close, in my opinion. And with the Rough Riders, though, for me, it's either retro or nothing with the Rough Riders, because these uniforms were great. And when Reebok was making the uniforms, the striping was a little bit farther apart. And actually, I better go and take a look at it here. But the striping on the arms is now a little bit closer together with Adidas, I think. And I don't think they are, but if you look at this photo here, it looks like they're a little bit wider, and they actually had a little bit of white on the ends of the arms as well, which they no longer have with Adidas. And I wish the Rough Riders would just go to this. Like, their new home and away uniforms, I mean, they're better than the Reebok ones, but to me, I hate the side panels, and I wish they'd just get rid of those altogether. And I also don't care for the new collars where it comes up to here and then there's the spot for their logo. I don't like the new Adidas style collars either. And Saskatchewan is once again another team that does not have shoulder numbers. And it's just like, why? It would look better with shoulder numbers. And I'm sorry to be picky about that, but I think football uniforms should have some numbers either on the ends of the arms, like right here, or on the shoulders. But for me, though, I'm hoping that with Adidas, and one thing that kind of has disappointed me with Adidas so far is that I have not been seeing quite as many throwback uniforms. Like, for example, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have gone full-on retro now. And I know the Rough Riders have thankfully kept their retro green jersey as a third. But I really do hope that the Rough Riders will bring back their white version of this jersey for the Banjo Bowl series against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers around the Labor Day weekend. And because I love this jersey, and I also absolutely love their old white one. And if they're not going to switch to their retros full time, which they absolutely should, because they're some of the best uniforms I've ever seen, and I personally mean that, they're like, in my opinion, they are one of my absolute favorite uniforms in football, their old retro ones. And for myself, you know, if they're not going to go full-time retro, and they're going to stick around with these collegiate style looks, which they should get rid of them and just go back to retro, in my opinion. I mean, they should at least wear their green and white retros at least a couple times a year each. That would at least make it a little bit better. And hopefully they will bring their white retro jersey back this season at some point. They should. If they're not going to switch to it full time, at least have those two jerseys in their rotation at some point or another. But anyways, you guys, I have shared my final thoughts on their new Western Conference CFL uniforms made by Adidas for the 2016 season. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And to make a quick wrap up, Saskatchewan, they should go back to their retro look for sure. And with Edmonton, they should at least make the pant stripes go all the way down. I mean, their current uniforms are not terrible at all. And I definitely think their away jersey is much better than their Reebok one. But if I ever had my way, Edmonton would go back to this with a matching away jersey. And as for the Blue Bombers, I would not mind seeing them clean up their away jersey. And I definitely want to see them bring back a gold jersey as an alternate. And for the BC Lions, I wish they would at least make their uniforms match each other. Like add some more black around the numbers to their away jersey and add some white around their home jersey. And there's one more little thing about Adidas that I want to mention real quick before I wrap up this video. And it's a pet peeve of mine, but look at the nameplates here. Like, for example, Adam Bighill here, who's actually now gone to the NFL, and he deserves it because he was really good as a BC Lion. But see how the nameplates sometimes cut into the back of the uniform, into the shoulders of the uniform here? I hate that about Adidas, and I wish they would fix that. I mean, goodness me. It's a big pet peeve of mine. And Is there any other pictures I have of it to show you a little better? No, I don't. But yeah, I hate how the nameplate's just cut into the back of the uniform like that. It's a huge pet peeve of mine. And the Stampeders have that going on their away jersey sometimes too, and I really don't like it whatsoever. And with the Calgary Stampeders, I wish that they would clean up their away jersey more, have their red helmet for their away uniform, and it'd be nice to see them add a more traditional striping pattern on their arms again with a little bit of silver, or at least a little bit more white and black like the 1990s. I think the 90s uniforms are some of my personal favorite. And their black third jersey, I definitely am a big fan. And sometimes also with their away jerseys, sometimes I find that their nameplates on the back sometimes cut into the shoulder area a little bit, which I'm not a fan of, but you notice it much more on the BC Lions, I find, and it's because they have this style of uniform for their home and away jerseys. But anyways, you guys, I think I've talked long enough for this video, and I'm going to call it a wrap, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And in my next video, I'll talk about some small changes that were made for the 2017 CFL season in terms of uniforms. All right, you guys, until my next video, take care, and of course, as always, bye for now.